But this weekend I was very much in Vegas tourist mode as I've had my daughter here staying with me for the weekend.
And now, the time has come for headbangers and rockers to come together as one.
I would love to hear them.
Sirius XM's Faction Talk gives you Trunk Nation.
There's a lot of grunting and interesting sounds.
With Eddie Trunk.
How's it going, everybody? A good Monday to you. As it is the 17th day of August, we are in mid-August officially here. The home stretch of the summer, if you can believe it already, is upon us. And here we go with another week of talking rock music with you here on Trunk Nation. Faction Talk, Sirius XM Channel 103, live or on demand anytime you want using the Sirius XM app. Hope you all had a great weekend as I get started in hour one of 5 consecutive hours of live radio on Mondays that usually starts the week. Of course, the 2 hours here with you until 5 Eastern on the daily program, Trunk Nation on Faction Talk, with all talk, commentary, news, your calls, interviews in the world of rock. And then, of course, today being Monday, our Monday-only show, which is over on Channel 39, right when this show ends. That would be Hair Nation. And that is Mondays only, 5 to 8 Eastern. Playing full songs and music and requests there for you on that show, and working in some talk and also some interviews that originated on this show as broadcasts there from time to time, usually to end the show. So it's been a good weekend for me. I've been in Vegas tourist mode this weekend. Living here for the most part as a primary residence. Sometimes you kind of get away from all the stuff that goes on in this town. Even though it's 10 minutes away from where I live, you just kind of live in your little bubble at times. But this weekend, I was very much in Vegas tourist mode as I've had my daughter here staying with me for the weekend. She's still here, as a matter of fact. And she gets out here, 2-3 times a year usually. And when she comes, she has a hit list of things she wants to do. So that hit list included a bunch of restaurants, which I feel like I gained 30 pounds over the weekend. The amount of restaurants in this town are incredible. And the amount of good restaurants at every level is incredible. And there are new ones opening every day. And it's just ridiculous. And my vice is eating. I don't care about gambling. I don't care about alcohol, which are the other two big vices in this town. But I love going to eat. And there is no shortage of that 24/7 here in Vegas. And I partook this weekend in some great spots and found some new spots with her. And then she wanted to see the show O, which is a Cirque du Soleil show, which we went to on Saturday. Really amazing show. I was told it's the biggest show in Vegas in terms of consistently. It's been going like over 20 years. It's in the Bellagio. And it's a show that incorporates all this water, like a giant pool. And the performers dive off of these crazy contraptions. And look, generally, I am not a fan of traditional shows like that. I cannot do Broadway. I cannot do singing type shows or anything like that. But this is different because this is a huge production. And I enjoyed it very much. It's crazy what these performers do. They do it 2 days a night. They do it 5 days a week, 2 performances a night, early and late. And what these people do from a physical standpoint and an aerial standpoint, and then all this diving into this water and dancing and flying around in the water, it is nuts. And what's really crazy about it is they will dive at like crazy heights into this. The stage is basically a giant pool of water. But the underneath the water are these platforms that come up and down. I don't know how the mechanics of it work. I would imagine the pool's got to be 20 feet deep when the floor is all the way down, because they're diving from such a high level. But then there's times where they're walking on the water where the floor is actually obviously up at the level of the water. And the flooring has to be perforated, I would think, so the water moves through it. But you are putting your life in your hands of the people that are working the electronics of moving that flooring up and down, because if you dive and the flooring is not fully down to where it should be, you're done. That's the stuff in my mind. I'm like, oh my God, the risk these people are taking, the trust in the mechanisms here. It's really amazing. It really is. But it's no different, and I've talked about this before with concerts, because you never think about it, but a concert performer or anybody who's on a stage is putting great faith into the people who have put the rigging up above the stage, the lighting trusses, the lights, the amps hanging, effect boxes and devices hanging. I mean, putting a lot of faith in those people that's suspended safely and correctly. That comes down on your head, you're done. You never think about it. And I'm on stages constantly. You never think about it, but that's a big part of productions of any sort of live show. So this one was no different, and it was really pretty impressive. So that was a cool thing to see. And then yesterday, there's this complex here called Area 15, which is just off the strip. And it's a big complex of like art installations and an indoor zip line. And they opened a 24/7, well, I don't know if it's 24/7, but a year-round, a Universal-themed haunted house, which had a Resident Evil attraction in it, which she was completely into and wanted to go to. So I didn't go into that. I sat outside like the old man father and waited for her to come out. If I was a drinker, I could have gotten all loaded up at the bar waiting for her, because they had of course, in Vegas, they got bars everywhere. There's never an opportunity to not buy an alcoholic beverage. But I just sat around and waited, and she enjoyed herself, and it was all good. So got one more night here with her, and then she gets out of here tomorrow, and then I get out of here on Thursday, where I will head to Gatlinburg, Tennessee on connecting flights across the country, so wish me luck on that. And then getting into Knoxville, and then about an hour ride into Gatlinburg for the semi-annual Mountain Music Festival, which is about to take place this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I will be there all 3 days. Look forward to seeing you. I always run into a lot of great listeners and fans at this event. It's been 2 years since it happened. Again, it happens kind of every other year. And I've done all of these, and they're always a lot of fun. And it's put on by the same people who bring you the Monsters of Rock cruise. So it's great seeing my Monsters family at this event and working with them once again. And some of the people I see that go on the cruise, but the interesting thing about this event from past experience is there are a lot of people that do not go on the cruise that go to this, and a lot of people that live in that area of Tennessee. I feel like it's a very local-oriented crowd for this as well. And, they don't get to see a lot of the bands that are playing, and they don't get to have a chance to see, people like me and others that are there. So it's a fun experience. It's definitely different. way different than the cruise. Obviously, everybody's in hotels, but a lot of the same community of rock fans. And Sebastian Bach is playing one of two Piercy DiMartini shows. Kind of feels like that's winding down a little bit, but they're playing some different stuff in there too. John Waite, Rick Springfield, Bret Michaels is on it. Night Ranger is on it. I am extremely excited about seeing Tuck Smith, who I am a huge fan of and have been a big supporter of. And interestingly, Tuck, I have never met in person and never obviously seen play live. And I've been a big fan and supporter for a number of years now. So that's one I'm particularly excited about because it's a first time for me in terms of getting a chance to see him play. So if you're attending this weekend, I look forward to seeing you. I'll be out and about. People always say, hey, how can we say hello, meet you, get a photo or whatever? It's real easy. Just find me. I'll be running around on the stages, off the stages. I don't hide. I'm out there, and I'll see you guys out and about the complex there that they do this event in. So yeah, that's Saturday. That's Friday, Saturday, Sunday this weekend, and there are single day tickets and full weekend tickets still available. And I will be seeing you again starting on Friday, and then there's a pre-stuff going on Thursday. So just keep an eye on the website, and there's a lot of cool different things going on. And I'll see you at the various events over the weekend. So looking forward to that. And then there's a week off and then Rocklahoma. So then that's it for the summer, which is crazy. Absolutely crazy. So yeah, that's, and as far as this week's schedule is concerned, Thursday we will bring you a best of show because that is my travel day. Taking Thursday off because I am traveling to Gatlinburg, and that's a full day of travel because, again, unfortunately, there are virtually hardly any direct flights from anywhere in and out of Knoxville, which is the nearest airport. So it is a full travel day. So I'll be using that on Thursday. So this week you've got live shows Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And Joel and I were just talking about what we were going to bring you on Wednesday, and I'm thinking we might do a rebroadcast of the show when Vince Neil sat in the studio with me. Because Vince is out there now with Motley Crue. Vince, to my knowledge, has only done one interview about his stroke and what he went through. And I'm pretty sure it was on this show. I think I know we did an interview with him about it on this show. I went to their residency, one of Vince's first shows back from having the stroke here in Vegas. And I talked him into coming on the air, and he did, and he was great that day. And he was very candid about what he went through having this stroke. Or a series of strokes, I think he revealed in the interview. So with Motley out there on tour to, by the way, very mixed reviews, if I'm being honest. Getting people that are telling me, and we were getting calls after pretty much every Motley show, some saying great things and some being pretty harsh about the shows and Vince, etc. So I've not seen it. Just going according to what you guys are saying. This is always an open forum for your thoughts. And, wherever you land, the good news is that Vince is still able to do this at some level. Again, given that he had a stroke, and he was very transparent about it in the interview that we did with him. So I'm thinking, not 100%, but I'm thinking we may bring that to you as a best of on Thursday. All right, a lot of news today coming off the weekend as the norm. And it is officially a free-for-all Monday, which we like to do now to kick off the weeks. See a lot of people on the phones wanting to get on the air. We'll get to you quickly here. I'll try to move quickly and riff through all this news. And then we will turn it over to you guys with anything you want to hit me with in rock until 5 Eastern when I go over to the Hair Nation show here on this Monday. News coming off the weekend. Noted music journalist and critic Dave Marsh has passed away at the age of 76 years old. Dave Marsh has done books on Bruce Springsteen and The Who, among others. He was very much aligned with Bruce Springsteen, very much a Bruce Springsteen supporter, and, notoriously a guy that was not so much a fan of hard rock. He was once famously quoted as saying that he would do everything possible, and I'm paraphrasing here, to keep Kiss out of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He was not a Kiss fan. We'll leave it at that. And he was unsuccessful in his campaign to keep Kiss out of the Hall of Fame because, of course, they ultimately did end up going in. The reason why Dave Marsh said that is because he had some say in the Hall of Fame as a member of the nominating committee. But he was a guy who could be very, outspoken and have a certain air about him and the way he did things, but talented in what he did. And I've always, whether I agree with people or not, I've always had a respect for people who aren't afraid to tell it like it is and aren't afraid to give their honest opinion, which is a increasingly harder and harder thing to do given the pounce society that we are in. That's what I call it anyway, where people just can't wait to pounce on you and attack you on social media for anything that they feel like doing. So that's been a thing for a while, and it's pretty sad, and it's a sad aspect of social media, but everybody endures that whenever you put yourself out there, and Dave certainly did, but didn't seem to care at all. I only met him a couple times. I also know he did a radio show, I believe, on Bruce Springsteen E Street Radio here on Sirius XM. So condolences to his friends, his family, and his fans. Dave Marsh passing away at 76 years old, undisclosed at this point as to what he died from. A documentary alert for you. I watched this last night, actually. It is on Hulu. There is a doc on Blink-182's drummer, Travis Barker. It is a documentary that basically chronicles his life from his early years as a drummer to what he does and puts himself through as a drummer. He's an incredibly hard hitter that plays on a very small kit. And it tells you basically his life story, which has been quite a story that has included addictions to drugs and alcohol. It has included coming out the other side. It has included several marriages, several kids. It also includes the tragedy of a plane crash, which he survived but went through hell to get back from. He had about 65% of his body burned in a plane crash. And at one point, while he was going through this recovery in the hospital, wanted to die. He was asking them to basically put him to sleep because of the pain that he was enduring. But somehow the guy has come out the other side, healthy, sober, married a Kardashian, and is in a much better place now. And he's also a guy that, although the bulk of his drumming and performances are more in the punk rock arena, he also became a guy that was known for doing live drums on rap and hip hop songs and laying down beats for that for a whole nother career. He had a career launching a very successful clothing line. And one of the interesting stories about the documentary as well, and it was very good, very well done, even if you're not a fan of his or that music. But he had coming off of that plane crash, he refused to ever get on a plane again. Understandable. And when Blink-182 or he would need to go to Europe or tour somewhere outside of America, he would get on a boat he would take the Queen Mary. They showed in the documentary. So if he had to go to Europe or something, it was like a 9-day cruise, and he would get a big suite on the Queen Mary, set up his drums in there, play the drums, take 8-9 days on a cruise ship to get to Europe, and then get on a bus and tour that way. Not all that different from what Ben Burnley, the singer in Breaking Benjamin, does, because Ben will not fly either. He also had a bad experience, and although he was not in a crash, he had a experience that jarred him, and to this day he will not get on a plane. What's interesting about the Travis Barker story, which I did not know, and the documentary is shot over a course of like 7-8 years of his life, because Taylor Hawkins is one of the people in the documentary talking about him. Obviously, we lost Taylor a few years ago. Lars Ulrich is in the doc. There's a few different drummers talked to in the documentary. But what happened was, after a few years had passed, and Travis Barker got remarried again and got sobriety and all of that and had other kids, they all kind of subtly talked him into getting on a plane again. And the documentary ends with him overcoming the fear and actually taking a flight. Now, look, the guy's got a lot of money. He's had a lot of success. Blink-182, very successful band. So he's flying private, which is obviously a huge luxury. But still, the idea of getting back on a plane after enduring what he endured, two of the people he was on the plane with died. One of the people was DJ AM, who did not die in the plane crash, but then later had his own relapse into addiction, which ultimately took his life. So a guy was surrounded by a lot of tragedy and somehow has come out the other side healthy and happy. And it's a real good doc. So if it's something you're interested in seeing it, it's called Travis Barker, Louder Than Fear. And it is currently on Hulu, if you have one of the 9 million streaming services, and that happens to be one of the ones that you happen to have. One other thing that's interesting about Travis Barker, I don't know the guy at all. And if I can get a contact for him, have him on the air to talk about the doc, I certainly would. But he is covered in tattoos. Like, when I tell you he has them, his entire body, like there's a scene in the documentary where he goes into a tattoo shop and they're like, well, what are we doing today? And he's like, I don't know. I'm pretty well covered. I don't know if see if you can find any space. It's crazy. Got him on his face. He's got him on the top. His head is shaved, the top of his head, covered in tattoos. And his dad was really pissed off when he got his first tattoo. And the reason why he said he started getting tattoos is because when he was a kid and started playing drums at 15, and his hero was Buddy Rich, he did not want to have a backup plan. His dad had said to him, hey, you're never going to get a job looking like that. You've got to stop with the tattoos. But he never wanted another job. He was so committed to make it as a professional musician that he figured by covering himself in tattoos and making himself basically look unemployable to any other world but music, he'd have no choice but to make it as a musician. So that is quite a commitment. And then I guess he just went off on a tangent getting more of them. Anyway, definitely worth checking out, again, on Hulu now. Talked about this last week. Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons threw out a first pitch at a Los Angeles Angels game in Southern California on Saturday. And it was basically a promotional stunt because, again, the Kiss concert from Anaheim, which is where the Angels play, from 50 years ago, a concert recorded there, is now coming out or out already in this, various formats, a deluxe edition. So it was really a promo stunt to promote this concert being released. Couldn't initially figure out why they would do this, and then I put it all together and it made sense. They did a Kiss-themed night there. The Angels were playing the Royals, etc. So I talked about, if you listen to the show every day last week, I talked about the fact that this is a risky thing to do because it's a much harder thing to do than I think people realize. And I was curious how this was going to go down because, of course, if you tank it, people ridicule you for quite a long time. And look no further than Howard Stern's own Baba Booey, Gary Dell'Abate, who famously threw a pitch completely cockeyed and still gets ridiculed about it. So I wondered how they would do, and this is now, as predicted, all over social media. And they did throw the pitch from further in from the mound, so they didn't throw the full distance from the mound to the catcher. Paul Stanley bounced it. He threw it one time. He bounced it. It didn't look good, but he bounced it, whatever. Gene Simmons threw it 4 times. They kept throwing it back to him because Gene wanted to try to get it better or get it right. Something I've never seen before. So, anyway, make of it what you will. It was obviously just a fun promo stunt. I don't think anybody completely spiraled it like Gary famously did. But, given their age, Gene and Paul, I thought, did better than I thought, but still far from great. But it was just funny to see how this was all going to go and how they would handle this. And that's what it ended up being. You can see it online if it's of interest to you. We had the band Fuel. Well, we had Carl Bell, the founding member and guitarist and songwriter from Fuel, on Trunk Nation a couple weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago. We premiered a brand new Fuel song called Want It at that time. Since then, Fuel have released another song from their album coming out on October 30th. So here we are in mid-August, and now 2 songs released from the album. As is the case with music these days, you'll probably have half the album released now if this continues on this pace in advance of the actual October 30th release date. Pull Me In, the latest track from the coming album called Pendulum. There's been a lot of reporting on, and I'm shocked at the level of reporting on this, about the departure, firing, dismissal of Sid Wilson, a member of Slipknot. There's been a lot of weird stuff about this in the last week or so, where Slipknot have said Sid Wilson is done. They are not working with him. They have dismissed him. And then I think it was Clown from Slipknot coming out and saying, well, hold on, don't read everything you've read. Don't believe everything you've read. And that's now Sid Wilson is admitted, yes, he is indeed out of the band. So any question mark about Sid being in Slipknot can be put to rest. He is no longer a member of the band as it stands now. But the reason why I say I'm just shocked at the level of mainstream coverage of this story. I'm totally aware that Slipknot is a huge band, but they are absolutely a metal band. And a pretty aggressive metal band. And this has been covered, like, I saw it like in the New York Post. TMZ has been covering this extensively. And I gotta think this maybe has something to do with Sid Wilson kind of bridging into the celebrity gossip world because of his relationship with Kelly Osbourne, maybe? I don't know. I just find it interesting. Like, you know, when you get these stories about metal bands that all of a sudden they kind of cross over into a different realm of media. And I've seen this come up on scrolls on the news. It's like, wow. So a lot of coverage on this, but he's out of the band as of now. In related news, speaking of Kelly Osbourne, she went at Dee Snider on social media, which was a big story over the weekend, if you care and follow this sort of stuff. Again, we are in what I always have called the Pounce Society, where somebody gives a strong opinion or a hot take and somebody doesn't agree with it, whether it's fans or whatever, the keyboard warriors will attack. And Dee Snider got a dose of that. Now, look, Dee is a guy that is not and never has been afraid to share very strong opinions. And but here's what's interesting about this. Dee Snider was attacked not attacked, but, well, a strong response, we'll say this, from Kelly Osbourne. Because Dee made, and this is all on social media, and this is all on, I believe, X as the platform. But Dee made a statement about, he was engaging with fans as he often does, and somebody had asked him, something came up with Ozzy. And in the statement, in the post that Dee made, he basically said that Ozzy did not write lyrics and did not write any of the lyrics he sang. And that Bob Daisley wrote the bulk of the lyrics during his solo years. Lemmy wrote a lot of lyrics on several of Ozzy's biggest songs, including Mom, I'm Coming Home. And that, of course, we all know that in Black Sabbath, Geezer Butler wrote the lyrics. These are all facts. You know, what Dee said is not a controversial statement. It is the truth. It is actually fact. I've been saying it for decades. It's not a diss on Ozzy Osbourne. There are some singers that are writers, and there are some singers that don't write. They just sing. There's nothing wrong with that. It just depends upon where your talents lie and what you're able to contribute at whatever given time. There are some singers that start out not being songwriters, but evolve into being songwriters. There are some singers who have a member of the band who are just better with words and better lyricists, and they write the lyrics. Look no further than Rush as an example of that. Geddy Lee did not write any of the lyrics he sings and sang or currently sings in Rush, except for if they come from the first album, Working Man maybe being the example. Because Neil Peart wasn't in Rush on the first album. So Geddy probably wrote all those lyrics on the first record. And then when Neil joined on album number 2, they just realized Neil was a wordsmith. And from that point on, Neil Peart wrote every word Geddy Lee sang. From Fly By Night right till the end. So you see, it's not, most singers do write their lyrics, but it's not unprecedented. In Cheap Trick, a lot of songs, Rick Nielsen is the sole songwriter. So on those songs, Robin Zander is singing Rick's lyrics. Anyway, so do you see what I'm saying? It's not necessarily a diss. It's just the truth. And Dee got crucified for this by Kelly Osbourne and others who, of course, come to the Pounce Society of social media. Now, if you want to be critical about this, I guess the criticism would be, and the people who were critical of it were, well, you're looking to diminish Ozzy's talents. Well, I don't see it like that. I mean, he's stating a fact. And too often, quite frankly, these songwriters do not get the credit or acknowledgement for their writing contributions to whether it be, Ozzy's solo career or Sabbath. I mean, they don't. I mean, I say 98% of people who listen to Crazy Train have no idea that a guy named Bob Daisley wrote those words. They have no idea that Ozzy did not write the bulk of the lyrics he sang as a solo artist or in Sabbath. But again, it's not a diss. It's just the way it is. Vince Neil in Motley Crue is another example. Nikki Sixx wrote the lyrics and writes the lyrics. There may have been a couple spots here and there where Vince wrote something, but Nikki will be the first to tell you that he writes the lyrics in Motley Crue. Nikki's always on social media talking about his lyrics. So you see my point, but again, it was taken and interpreted by Kelly Osbourne and by some fans as some sort of slight to Ozzy, when it really shouldn't have been, because as I just proved to you, it's not unprecedented at all. If there would be any knock on it, and you wanted to level anything at Dee negative about it, the theory there is, well, it's too soon to say something like that. It's trying to diminish Ozzy a year after he died. I don't know. I mean, it's been a year. I mean, it's not anything that just came out. It's not like people haven't known this and this hasn't been a public thing for 50 years, 55 years. I mean, I don't know the full context in the way Dee said it. If there was something more to it, I know he made some statement like, I know too much about what really went on. That's playing into probably Dee knowing Bob Daisley and Daisley saying things. And we know the Osbournes don't like Daisley and there's been lawsuits. Anyway, Dee is not afraid to mix it up. And it was taken negatively by the Osbournes, and that became a whole thing over the weekend, or just, as usual. But as usual, after a day or two, runs out of steam and everyone's on to the next outrage. But my point about it is there's nothing. What is there to be outraged about? Maybe if you perceive it as him dissing Ozzy, again, I didn't read the full context, then yes. But factually, what he said is actually 100% accurate. So what did he say that wasn't true?
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay, when one user called Daisley's contribution a load, Snyder replied, quote, "A load? How about all the lyrics? Ozzy always had bass players write his lyrics. Geezer Butler wrote all of Black Sabbath lyrics. Daisley wrote lyrics for the first two solo albums. I'm pretty sure he was paid to write on other records, but not credited, and Lemmy wrote lyrics. And again, to be clear, I have nothing but love for Ozzy. He was always very lovely to me. As a songwriter, I can be a little touchy about credit and royalties."
Yeah, I mean, again, there's literally zero factually wrong there. Zero. As a matter of fact, the only thing that's wrong about it is Daisley did indeed write way more than the first two records' lyrics. Some credited, some not. So I mean, again, there's nothing there that's not factually true. I'm sure there's a couple songs here and there that Ozzy wrote lyrics, but everyone has talked about that. Ozzy wrote melodies, which are also very important, but I mean, there's not, you can file that same thing under, I just told you, Geddy Lee. I mean, Neil Peart wrote every lyric. Vince Neil, Nikki Sixx. Early Skid Row, Rachel and Snake before Sebastian joined the band on some of those songs on the first record. Sebastian later contributed to writing once he was entrenched in the band. And Sebastian changed the game when he joined that band, but that first record, the bulk of those songs had been written already. And throughout that band's history, the bulk of the songs were written by Snake and Rachel, although Sebastian did start contributing more starting around the second record. But it's endless, the examples of this. It's not a diss. It doesn't diminish the talent of the person. I mean, if Ozzy wasn't Ozzy, it wouldn't have mattered who wrote the lyrics. The delivery of the lyrics, the performance of them would have been uneventful, maybe. If Sebastian wasn't Sebastian, I Remember You and 18 in Life would not have been the same songs. Trust me, they were done by a different singer before he joined the band, and they didn't go over like they did when he got a hold of those songs. It's endless, the examples of it. So, look, I know that D is D, and he likes to be outspoken and say what he says. And I think also D, loves to mix it up on social media with people. D is obviously not overly active right now and not singing in Twisted Sister right now. So, he's got some time to kind of engage with people, and maybe that's, he enjoys doing that, and it is what it is. But I just, watching that whole thing unfold from the sidelines, I was like, okay, I get if there's still a sensitivity, and I get if you perceive that as trying to diminish Ozzy's talents, but he's just speaking the truth. And I don't see it diminishing Ozzy's talents because there's tons of other singers who are not songwriters. All right, well, there's that. And I usually don't even delve into stuff like that or bring stuff up because, again, I'm so not into the keyboard warrior comments, fighting on social media. It's absurd, and I won't do it. I make my statements. I move on. Again, I'm not a comments guy. I'm not doing it, but some people enjoy doing it. Clearly. What else here? Manson released another single from his coming new album, One Assassination Under God, Chapter 2. I can't read my own chicken scratch, Joel. It's called Unalive, I think, right? Yep.
Yes, Unalive.
Unalive. Sequel to the last record. Foghat, which is down to one original member. Sadly, most of the original members have passed away, Roger Earl being the one original member of the band, who is the band's drummer, with a new live album coming out on October 30th. It's called Live and Loud Across the USA. Artemis Pyle, the lone person surviving from the Lynyrd Skynyrd plane crash, and of course, a longtime drummer in Lynyrd Skynyrd, has not been for many years, but was for many years, and is on many of the classic records. He has a band. He's been on this show, by the way. We've had Artemis on. Artemis Pyle Band doing a run of dates starting on August 27th, running through November 7th. of course, playing Skynyrd songs. Speaking of conflicting reports out there, the legendary singer Frankie Valli, who is 92 years old and had his retirement announced, is now disputing his own retirement. And I think what some of this may stem from is the fact that there have been calls now for several years for Frankie Valli to stop performing. And I'm saying performing and stopping short of saying singing, because unless you are in complete and utter denial, Frankie Valli has blatantly been lip syncing for years now on stage. It's, you know, he's obviously an elderly guy. The microphone is nowhere near his mouth. The lead vocal's coming out. It's quite sad. And because of this, and because of how he appears on stage, there has been countless calls for him to basically retire, and somebody in his camp to say, hey, you got to shut it down now. So maybe somebody tried that, and Frankie Valli's like, nope, I'm still going to go out there on that stage in whatever condition I'm in. So I don't know where that lands, but I thought that was interesting. Retired, unretired.
It was Frankie's brother who made the statement, so there could be some stuff going on within the family to get him to retire.
I mean, for many years now, people have been saying publicly, privately, you know, they got to shut him down. And, you know, maybe his brother wisely said, look, man, you know, this isn't good. But he's, you know, as we know, some of these guys do not know when to say when and will not stop, even if it's gotten to this point. And it's amazing. People will allegedly, you know, still apparently pay. Some people will pay somehow for this. Not exactly sure what's going on in the ever-evolving world of David Lee Roth. Speaking of social media, if you follow Dave on social media, he has gone really far out there these days. He is making some real interesting videos, kind of in a Cowboy Dave mode. And in the latest one, he is cracking a whip with a cowboy hat on, speaking in somewhat of a southern drawl, and speaking about cartoon characters that he would like to have had sex with back in the day. I don't know what is going on with Dave. It is really interesting. We know Dave has canceled a bunch of shows. Dave did play Sturgis over the weekend as one of the only shows he did not cancel. We know that Dave did that TED Talk with Alex Van Halen. I've not seen that online. I don't know if that's been posted, if that was only kept private. I don't know what went on at that thing. It is infinitely fascinating to me, as I've said before, that Alex Van Halen really continues to hitch his wagon to Dave, despite some of this behavior, somewhat erratic behavior. But it is what it is, and if you've seen that latest post from Dave, you make of that what you will. I can't make of it. I don't know what that is. But do with that what you will. And lastly, Richie Blackmore gave an interview to Guitar World magazine following his return to the stage for one song with Deep Purple last week in New York. Blackmore just basically saying that he wanted to do it because the band was just up the street from where he lives, basically. He was not so concerned with playing the right notes. He was more concerned with just reconnecting with old friends. It does not seem like there is any momentum at all for Blackmore to possibly return to playing with Deep Purple. He is, again, 81 years old. He has suffered some health setbacks, and the idea of touring does not seem very likely for him. He also said one of the reasons why he wanted to get back on stage with the guys is because probably he said would be the last time he'd ever see them. So the idea of a potential Purple Blackmore reunion, which understandably gears would get turning for people talking about that, I think given what Richie has said here and given what the performance was, probably pretty unlikely. But it was a nice thing to see for one last time, and it was nice that Richie was, as he said also, he said he thinks the public perception was that they were all at each other's throats. I think at one point they were, but this was also a way for Blackmore to prove that they've gotten older and kind of buried any hatchets in their advanced age. So that was a nice kind of thing to see happen last week, and a nice response from Richie about the whole thing, who I believe is definitely, as I said, seems to have definitely changed and evolved some in his later years. So as usual, a ton coming off the weekend. Joel, anything you want to jump in on?
I just want to shout out a couple of things from new music from Friday, and we have one story as well I'll get to afterwards. Butcher Babies, Carla Harvey, she's doing this new band, The Violent Hour. We've had her on to talk about it. They've released a new single. It's called Screenager. They've also announced a handful of festival dates. You can go check it out on their website for where they'll be appearing. The band Plush, we've also had them on the show. They've shared a new single. It's called Animalistic. It's from their upcoming album, Mass Hysteria. Skillet have announced a new EP and shared a new single. It's called Lift Me Up. The band CKY released a single, not usually in our wheelhouse, but we've been talking Mastodon lately, and late guitarist Brent Hines appears on that track, so you can go check that out. Also, the band Crashing Wayward, you've talked about them a bunch. They've announced a new 6-song EP set to arrive in September. I believe it's September 18th. That's the exact date, and we'll be getting a new single from them later this month, but we have actually a little preview of the song that I'll play as we go to break here. Before we wrap that up, we also have an announcement of William Shatner's band, William Shatner and the Fuckers. They'll be playing a warm-up gig September 19th ahead of their Riot Fest appearance. So for those in Chicago, they'll be doing a club gig to warm up, so that'll be your chance to see him with his band in a small venue. And also, we're going to wish happy birthday today to Gilby Clarke, who turned 64.
All right. Happy birthday to Gilby. Crashing Wayward, real good band. They're from here in Vegas. I know those guys, and they are putting out new music that's real good as well. So I've had them on the show too a few years back. All right. Good on all that. One other quick thing on me on a documentary that is not really music related, although there is a subtle music connection. There is a documentary series. I'm not sure if you guys have seen this yet. They're two episodes in. It's on HBO. I think it's called Monsters of Gods. It's on the reptile smuggling industry, where these guys are smuggling snakes, lizards, iguanas, alligators, crocodiles, Komodo dragons. It's absolutely insane. Not a fan of any of it, personally. But I am fascinated to watch and see it. And it is a wild story going back to the 80s, where they would smuggle in cocaine with the reptiles. So it became a drug smuggling and a reptile smuggling operation worth billions of dollars. They talked to some of the players in it. So if that sounds of interest to you, and it's pretty wild, it is on HBO. It's rolling out. I don't know how many episodes it is, but they're 2 in right now as a series. And if you're looking for a subtle music connection to all of this, I didn't realize this until I watched the credits. The music in it was scored by Slash. And you may say, where did that come from? For those that don't know, Slash is a big fan of snakes and reptiles. He for a long time has had multiple snakes in his house and has had a snake collection. I went to Slash's house once. I saw the snakes in their aquariums or whatever, and I was quite happy with them staying in those aquariums. I did not need to engage any further than that. So he's always been a big snake guy, and that was he probably knew these guys that made this doc, and they got him to do some music for it. So anyway, there you go. Okay, lots there. Let's take a break. When we come back, you know the drill. We'll give you the rest of the show, a little over an hour on this Monday. Anything you want to come on board with your calls in rock, 844-686-5863. We go to free-for-all mode right after that.
Now back to more hard and heavy talk. Trunk Nation.
I know exactly what we're doing. Don't you worry.
Sirius XM Faction Talk.
This is rad.
With host Eddie Trunk.
All right, welcome back. Talking rock with you every day on Trunk Nation. Live 3 to 5 Eastern, noon to 2 Pacific, anytime live or on demand using the Sirius XM app. Connect with us on social media as well, at Eddie Trunk, X, Instagram page on Facebook, and also YouTube, where I, over the weekend, put up about 3 more video versions of recent interviews for you to check out. So be sure to subscribe there so you can see those when they go up and you are alerted, and more to come on the video front as well. And don't forget the show's social media accounts, Trunk Nation SXM, and you will find those on Instagram, X, and on TikTok. And we always put some clips out of some of the guests and all that, so a lot of different ways to connect with the content. And, of course, if you're listening in our live window of 3 to 5 Eastern every day, you can also connect directly with us on the phone at 844-686-5863, and that's exactly what we're going to do right now. We're going to begin on the show today with Chris, who's in South Carolina. Chris, hey, welcome. You're our first caller. What's happening?
Hey, Eddie, I just wanted to ask you if you ever got to see any of the shows, the Guns N' Roses Metallica tour. I think it was in '92, because I'm in Columbia, and that was a huge deal when it came here. I think it was the first concert at Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia, but it's still a legend to this day, because first of all, Metallica was like a beast back in those days, and Faith No More was awesome as well, but everyone still talks about Duff getting on the microphone to sing Attitude, and he yells to the crowd, "What's up, Columbus, Ohio?" It's still hilarious, man. But I was just curious if you saw any of those shows.
You know, I know, Chris, there's a lot about that tour. And I know this is going to sound crazy, but I don't remember, and I don't think I did, and I don't know why I didn't. So the only thing I can think of as to why I would not have been there is because I may have had some conflict at the time. But to my knowledge, and I'd have to go back through all my old ticket stubs, because sometimes I'll find stubs of shows I forgot I was at. But to my knowledge, I don't think I saw that tour, and it would have only had to been that at that time, and it's a long time ago, so I don't remember, I would have had a conflict, a family thing, something going on, God knows what, when they played in the New York, New Jersey area. So I do not recall having gone.
Oh, no, that's cool. It was a good time, man. That's back when Guns N' Roses were a mess. But, I mean, it was kind of a beautiful thing. Miss it.
Yeah, well, thank you for that, Chris. I mean, the good news is you've got both bands still active. You've got Guns N' Roses touring as we speak. Duff was on the show a week or two ago. Last week, I think it was Duff on? 2 weeks ago, the week before. And obviously, you've got Metallica still active, bigger than ever. and getting ready for this gargantuan run at the Sphere here in Vegas, which they will be the first heavy rock band to play in there. For years, I'd been talking about the Sphere and saying, I wonder who we're going to get our first heavy rock show, and now we know it's going to be Metallica, and it is all completely sold out. Ray in Maryland, go ahead, buddy. What's going on?
Hey, not much, man. What's happening, Eddie?
All good, Ray.
Good deal. I got a few quick things here for you. I did. You mentioned that documentary on Peter North last week, so I watched it. And knowing that Richard Christie directed you to that, the only thing I could hear while I was watching it is, "He's my favorite. He shoots ropes."
Yeah, so, and Richard, it's funny you bring that up because I was texting with Richard yesterday because Richard is a huge Halloween haunted house guy. So yesterday, my daughter went into this. They've got a year-round giant haunted house now in Vegas, and my daughter went in there, and I was waiting for her. So I took a photo of the outside of it, and I texted it to Richard, and I go, "You got to go to this. This would be like your paradise." And he's like, "Yes, I'm working on it," because I guess he's coming. He's coming to Vegas this weekend for something to do with a fantasy football thing he's doing here. So I was telling him these things he's got to do, but I'm so bummed because I'm going to miss him when he's here because I'm leaving here on Thursday for a while. So anyway, we were texting about that. But yes, he did direct me to that doc. I believe he knew a guy that worked on it. But yes, I was thinking that as well.
Yeah, of course. And I wanted to say something about your the interview with Billy Bob Thornton that you did. First of all, it was great. I love when you interview people slightly out of the wheelhouse, you know, even though he is a music guy, it's still a little different. But sometimes I take for granted how good of an interviewer you are because, you know, I've heard you interview some of these guys before, and it's always like a casual conversation. You always do a great job. But it really reminded me of what a great interviewer you are, Eddie. So congrats on that interview. I wish it was a little longer, but, you know, it was really an excellent interview, I thought. And Billy was all engaging. Billy Bob was very engaging and open, so I liked that one a lot. That was great, dude.
I really appreciate that. Thank you, Ray. Yeah, I love doing thanks, Ray. Take care. Have a good week. I like doing stuff like that as well. I've said that very, very often. Like, I love talking to people who aren't necessarily known for being music people or rock people who are big rock people, and hearing that kind of perspective, right? So you hear Billy Bob Thornton, first thing that comes to mind is all his movies and maybe currently Landman and all these things that he's doing and what an accomplished actor he is and what a big figure he is in Hollywood. But you get to those people and you watch and you can feel how they light up when they talk about something that is also super near and dear to them, in this case, music, that they don't get asked about all that much, and they don't get to talk about all that much. So it's really cool when you can do that. And I got to tell you, that thing happened because he wanted to do the show, and he did remember, as you heard in the interview when he was on with me last. I did not expect him to remember that interview. I don't assume that because it was literally 7-8 years ago. A guy like that does 1 million interviews. He meets 1 million people. And, you know, I don't assume that he's going to remember hanging with me in a conference room outside of NAMM 8 years ago. So it was amazing that he did, but he knew he was going to get more of a music thing. And I think these guys also eventually pick up on the fact that it's like, look, I am not interested in your 6 divorces. I am not interested in your current girlfriend or wife. I am not, all well and good, whatever is going on in your world personally. I want to talk about music. And I think that's so refreshing to these guys because they know that if they're going to go to a Access Hollywood or something like that, they're going to get all that stuff. And it's just, they don't want to deal with that. So it was really cool that he agreed to do it. And it was obviously centered around that documentary on Sunset Marquee. And I also wish we had more time with him, but it was what it was. We got what we got. I can tell you that after the interview, I did email his manager, assistant, whoever it was, and thanked her for helping set that up, and said, when he has more time, if he'd like to come on and just kick it about music, I'd love to have him. So that's Billy Bob's second appearance on this show. We've had Thomas Hayden Church, who's a noted actor as well, on several times. He calls in whenever he feels like it. But the one guy that I really hope I can get one of these days that also is in that category is Johnny Depp. Because Johnny Depp is clearly a huge rock fan. Johnny Depp, as we speak, is playing in Europe with the Hollywood Vampires. And two guys that are friends of the show and I've known for decades, Joe Perry and Alice Cooper, are also in Hollywood Vampires. So I'm hoping one of these days that I can get to a point with one of these guys will get in Johnny Depp's ear enough, and they've tried in the past to say, hey, no, this is a music safe space. I'm not interested in talking about Amber Heard and who's shit in whose bed. I mean, they want to talk about that. That's fine. But I want to talk about, your love of rock and where it came from. Tommy Henriksen is very close with Johnny Depp as well. I've talked to Tommy about putting a word in. Now, Depp apparently predominantly lives in France these days, so that maybe makes it a little more challenging. But I'm still hopeful that'll happen one of these days. So we'll see. But thanks for that, Ray. I'm glad you enjoyed Billy Bob. And yeah, hopefully we get more time with him at some point. Here's Mike in Saskatchewan. What's going on, Mike?
Hey, Eddie. Yeah, I just want to say I saw Don Felder in the Guess Who a few weeks ago up here. And I was really surprised at the crowd, first off. Like, it was a huge crowd. I think they're going to draw bigger in Canada, I know, than they would in the States. They're out in the States right now, but I think they're still getting pretty good crowds in the States. But, it was like 4 concerts in one, really. Felder came out, played 45 minutes of Eagles songs. Great job. He had Corey Churko from Took in his band. So that was good. I'd recognized him from some Took shows with Todd and Brent.
Yeah, and that tour played here in Vegas on Saturday. And I have friends that
what type of crowd did they get there? Like, what type of venue were they playing there?
I didn't go because I went, like I said earlier in the show, my daughter's with me, and we went to a different show in town she wanted to go to. But they played, I believe, at the Fontainebleau, which is one of the newer hotel resorts, and I saw Duran Duran there a few months back, and I'd say it's probably, probably roughly a 3,000 to 4,000 capacity theater, if I was guessing, maybe decent. 5 max. Yeah, because there was about 14,000 where I was. Like, it was crazy. I would think in Canada, though, Guess Who would do way better than here in terms of people. Yeah. For sure. So they were getting like big crowds in Canada. And then Guess Who came out, and they play 3 BTO songs, a couple Burton Cummings solo songs, and then the rest are Guess Who songs. And there's Randy and Burton up front, and for 78 and 82, they're spectacular for their age. And then they've got 5 guys in their backing band. They introduce them all. They're there helping out with the vocals, filling out the sound. And yeah, there's got a few shows left, but I'd really recommend it. And the nice thing is, with Burton and Randy, everything's live, right? You don't have to worry about there's no tracks, nothing. And they'll even add lib stuff or throw things in there. So that they're solid. Yeah. Well, I would have went, and thank you for that, Mike. I would have went. More than one person asked me about it over the weekend here in Vegas if I was going, but I didn't realize it was happening till the last minute, and my 22-year-old daughter was not going to want to go see the Guess Who. Although she did last time she came out. We hung out. I did take her to see CCR, or not CCR, Fogerty, and I think she enjoyed that. But we already had tickets to this show, and couldn't make it, but heard they were great. Also, another friend here in Vegas, my friend nicknamed Red Cup, was telling me he went on Friday to see the band The Sword, who played here in town, which I was not aware that was happening. And he didn't know too much about them, but he went, and he came back to me with a very positive report about that. But same deal. I don't, I was just too tied up with other stuff. There's always so many things going on. Here's Dan in St. Louis. Go ahead, Dan.
Hey, Eddie, I second the last caller, too, about your interviews, man. You're awesome at that. But,
thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for the entertainment. But went and seen Guns N' Roses last night, and your boy Slash, man, he was channeling the guitar gods last night. I'm telling you, this guy, they broke into a jam, and they're playing. I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. And they just kept going and going, and the crowd was getting crazier, and Slash was killing it. I haven't seen I've seen all these guys, Nuno, you name it, Eddie, all those guys. And Slash, man, he was on fire last night. The whole band was. Sounded great. All tube amplifiers were up on stage. It sounded fantastic. And, Axl was killing it. It was pretty cool, man. I was really like, wow, that was awesome. I'm glad I went and seen it. I just thought.
Where did they play?
They played at Busch Stadium. It was a ballpark, Cardinals ballpark. It's a beautiful place to see a band. I've seen, Journey, Def Leppard, U2 there. I just go there because it's just very cool to see a band there, And
good turnout?
Yeah, really good turnout, actually. They started piling in Public Enemy back, was doing the opening. And, I wasn't going to try to front or anything like, I knew any of their songs. But, that was cool, though. And, man, Slash was on fire. He's been doing some woodshedding, they call it, I just thought I'd mention that to you because I know you're buddies with him. And he deserves his props because he could have ran with any of those guys, man. He really did. And it was so tasteful, Ed. What he was playing, like he'd be ripping and come out of it just so tasteful, man. So he was channeling something. I'm telling you.
Yeah, well,
really
there's been, and thank you, Dan. Appreciate that. I mean, that doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, there's been people that have been saying now for a number of years that he's actually the star of that show at this point, just with his playing and how much it's featured and all of that. And I think some of those extended solos, and as brilliant as a player as he is, the extended solos, I think, are also there for a reason. And I think that reason is it gives Axl Rose a chance to walk off stage and get a break, because that guy is singing. I mean, GNR historically has been doing like 3-hour shows for a long time, if not longer. So it gives Axl however long that moment is, 10, 15, 20 minutes for him to walk off stage and recover, change, get oxygen, what have you. I've said this in the past. I don't know how many people realize this. These big shows that have, certainly stadium level shows, they have these tents in the wings of the stage. And they can be in smaller size shows too. I've even seen them in large theater shows and certainly in arena shows, amphitheater shows. It's a small tent, and they call it a quick change. And basically what you do is the singer can walk off of the stage and go in that tent. It's private. They pull the curtain. They can change clothes. They can towel off. If they're wearing makeup, they'll fix their makeup. There will be oxygen in there if they need some oxygen. There will be a chair in there if they just want to sit down for a minute. It's very common. And Axl's had something like that for a very, very long time. I'm sure Brian Johnson with AC/DC, while Angus is out there for 20 minutes doing his solo, gives him a chance to go and get off stage, get out of the view of people, do whatever he's got to do, look in a mirror, check yourself, whatever. So there are as much as some of this stuff is done to showcase some of these musicians, there's usually an ulterior motive to it as well for some of these solos and extended things, because it gives people in the band, notably most of the time the singer, a chance to get a little break. Say hi to Dan, who's joining us from Phoenix today on Trunk Nation. What's up, Dan?
Hey, Eddie, happy Monday.
You too, man.
Hey, I called in with two subjects, but I want to talk about the second one first because it ties in with like four things that you talked about already today. Plane crash, Travis Barker, plane crash, Leonard Skinner, taking your daughter to Halloween in Vegas, and then Richard Christie's big Halloween fan. So my idea for a top five is maybe around Halloween time, a top five of the creepiest songs as you heard growing up as a kid. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking of, of course, Ozzy, Black Sabbath, one of the creepiest songs ever. But 1971, there's a song that came out from Blood Rock called DOA. You're familiar with that?
No, I'm not.
Check it out. It's about a guy going to the hospital he dies in a plane crash. But it's so weird that you were talking about those two plane crashes today. And that was my subject. One of my subjects when I called in was talking about the creepy songs. Like you were a kid that freaked you out when you were listening to when you were a kid,
Well, the one that comes to mind immediately for me in that category is God of Thunder by Kiss, because I was, Destroyer was the first rock album I ever really got, and I was very young, and just looking at that cover and not really even understanding what Kiss was, and then hearing God of Thunder with those kids' voices, the little kids, screaming in the background, and that was a really heavy, dark, weird thing. That was long before you knew who Gene Simmons was a businessman and what he really looked like or any of that. That was when Kiss was like the whole anonymity and what is this, and so God of Thunder God of Thunder and the song Black Sabbath, and I'd probably throw Alice Cooper, Ballad of Dwight Fry in there too.
Yeah, and Rob Zombie. But check out that song because it was written by the guy to purposely try to get it banned on the radio because he was mad about his publishing or his record contract or something. So it actually got banned on a lot of records, radio stations. But it's called DOA by Blood Rock and came out in 1971. I'm like 3 years old. I'm 65, so I was like 10 years old when it came out. So every time that song come on the radio, it would freak me out. It's really a deep, crazy song, man.
I'll try to look it up.
Plane crash. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try to look it up and check it out. Thank you, Dan. When you say the name of that band, Blood Rock, I have a vague memory of that band. A number of years ago, Dave Windorf, who is the singer in the band Monster Magnet, Dave is very much into like very old heavy metal, like the early origin heavy metal stuff. And Dave years ago came into my radio studio and he was promoting something with Monster Magnet at the time, but he wanted to come in with his records. This was on my music show on FM radio. Got to be 20 years ago at this point. Dave came in, he had all these CDs with him. And he's like, I want to educate you and the audience about all the roots of metal. He's like, some of this stuff came out before even Sabbath. And I remember we played a band called Dust, if I remember correctly, and he might have brought in this band called Blood Rock at that time. He might have, that name kind of rings a bell because of Windorf when he gave me this whole education about late 60s, early 70s heavy rock. But I like the idea of when we get closer to Halloween, doing a top 5 scary songs, creepy songs. I think we did that in past years, but I have no problem doing that again, and we'll definitely put that on the docket for the show. I don't know what day Halloween falls on, but whether it's on that day or if it's the day before or whatever. If there was only a way to see what day Halloween fell on, it falls on a Saturday this year. So we would have to do it the week leading into it. Wow, it falls on a Saturday. It's already a crazy excuse for people to go crazy partying. Now it's on a Saturday this year. People are really going to get nuts. Yeah, this whole thing in Vegas, this Universal horror thing, it's a year-round complex of horror stuff, and there's multiple things in it. Again, I did not go in. I just went in, made sure my kid got in okay, and then let her do her thing. But she was going for this Resident Evil. She's super into this Resident Evil thing, which I guess she told me was a video game or something, or is a video game. So the ticket was $30 for her to go into it. And I thought she's going to be in there for like 15, 20 minutes. So I'm just kind of sitting outside doing a couple things on my phone, whatever. She was in there for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, oh, I'm having a drink at the bar and I'm doing this. I'm like, what? I thought it was a haunted house. She said, no, it's a whole complex. I was like, okay. I'm like, you coming out anytime soon? Well, there's a show that's going to start. They're having a show within the show. I was sitting out there for like 2 hours. And then she comes out and she's got the Resident Evil souvenir plastic, what looked like a beaker from like a science experiment. A little stupid little plastic beaker. She goes, oh yeah, this is what I got the drink in. I'm like, oh really? She goes, yeah, it cost $40. All right. You got to love it. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, we'll keep powering through Monday here on Trunk Nation, seeing what we get into. Always good hanging with you guys, getting another week started here. We are at the moment open tomorrow and Wednesday. I have some
not open tomorrow. Brad Gillis tomorrow.
Oh, shit. I didn't even put that on my schedule. It's a good thing. Well, thank you for that. Because I just reached out to someone about coming on, so I need to make sure to tell them to just do Wednesday if we do that. So, all right, Brad Gillis, Night Ranger has a compilation record, but it's always good to check in with Brad, and I'll be seeing him this weekend because Night Ranger's playing the Mountain. So we'll get a little something from him on that as well. But Brad Gillis tomorrow. Thank you for that, Joel. Lately, I've been handing the stuff off with Joel to keep the schedule, but sometimes I forget to update my own calendar. So Brad Gillis tomorrow. We'll see what we do on Wednesday. Maybe a call-in show. We'll see what happens. But we got more of the show today coming up right after this.
Back to Trunk Nation.
How you doing, man?
Your source for all things hard rock and metal.
This is not shtick.
That's why I love your show, Eddie.
With host Eddie Trunk.
I'm just going during the commercial break. I'm scrolling through X/Twitter, which I've said before has always been my favorite social media, just because it's kind of like, I just like everything about it better than the others. It's just easier, and you can scroll and get some news. And my old friend Scott Farrell, the sports guy, just posted, I'm not betting preseason NFL football. That's when you know you've got a problem. Yeah. I almost posted that yesterday, actually. The same sort of thing, because here in Vegas, it just amazes me that people will bet on anything. And like, preseason schedule started over the weekend, and like, you got to be literally out of your mind to bet on preseason football. Like, no matter how much the players or the coaches try to tell you they want and are trying to win the game, It is utter nonsense. Because if they were trying to win the game, they would be playing the best players the entire game. They are not. It is purely for evaluation. The results of the game are utterly meaningless. So why on earth would you bet on that? Like, I'm not saying the players that are in the game at the end of the game, if it's close, don't want to win just for the sake of saying they played well. But you can go in these sports books and you can bet, and even I don't even know how they make these lines, and you can bet on meaningless games where the outcome is completely irrelevant in terms of the score. And people will bet on that. I guess it's just for having a reason to watch it. You know, I don't know. It's just funny. I was actually thinking about that over the weekend, and Pharrell just posted that. I'm laughing. And I was watching my Giants-Vikings, but I didn't care about it. You think I care that the Giants lost the game? Like, no. It's meaningless. Care that nobody got hurt, and I care that the starting players that did play looked decent, which, you know, was hit or miss on that. This week 1, we'll see what happens. All I'm worried about is September 13th at Dallas. Or not, no, at Dallas at Giants. Jose in Toronto. Go ahead, Jose.
Hey, Eddie. How's it going, man?
Good, good. What's happening today?
Oh, you've been all good. Well, I just have my brush with doucheness, as you call it. Have you heard of these? Yeah, that's awesome, man. Have you heard of the, of course, this drummer, Dennis Chambers?
The guy from the Pretenders?
No, he's pretty much like a seasoned player, and he plays with everybody. He's played even with Carlos Santana on tour and everything. So this guy came last year to Toronto with Mike Stern, the jazz guitar player, like worldwide famous. Mike Stern, he was pretty cool, by the way. But Dennis Chambers, I was holding this card when he went, because back then I was living in Venezuela. He went in like 95 or something like that. And this guy, so I still hold like my ticket when I went to see him. He had like this drum clinic in Caracas. So here in Toronto, I've been here for a long time now. So I go to talk to this guy. Hey, man, look what I'm still holding from when you were in South America. It's like he was like looking at it like with disdain. It's like, oh, yeah, I think I kind of remember. So I was hoping like for the guy to take a picture and sign it for me. Man, the guy, he was an absolute dick. It was incredible. So the other thing that I had for you is concert reviews. July 22nd, Motley Crue, they played here, of course, with Extreme and Tesla. That was incredible. Extreme, of course. I went very early because I didn't want to miss Extreme. It was great, of course. You know, Nuno, he's a wizard. So that's an overstatement. Tesla was great. I was very excited. I've never seen Tesla before. So, wow, I'm going to see Tesla. They were absolutely great all live. Motley Crue was very, very good. I was very pleased. Everything sounded live except for the, they have these girls on stage, as hot as it gets, these girls. But it's pretty much like the imagery, they're dancing and stuff. But obviously all of their choruses, they were all canned. But the concert was really good. Vince, he was live. His voice was kind of up there, but he did all right. As you said, I mean, it's great that after a stroke and everything, the guy, he can still do it. So that was very good. Rush was insane. I was lucky enough to attend both shows on the Toronto run. As you know, they all filmed all the 4 shows. The set list was incredible. Geddy Lee's voice was out of this planet. It sounded better than ever. It was insane. Annika, amazing. Alex, amazing. So it was great concert. And lastly, Guns N' Roses, they played here on August 5th. That was incredible. We were very amazed that Axl's voice was top notch. He was able to reach very high range. All those choruses, Appetite for Destruction songs, he was able to sing all of that stuff top notch. So amazing, man. Nice talking to you, and take care. Talk to you soon again.
Thank you, Jose. Appreciate the call. So in Jose's call, really interesting, because I have never seen a situation where there has been more wildly conflicting reports on two tours, and specifically two singers. In his call, him talking about Axl and him talking about Vince. Because, and again, you can just go online and see this, there are people that, like Jose said, think both are doing great. And there are people that are saying they are both just singing terribly. And there are tons of allegations online that Vince is not actually singing or having some assist or some track there. And I'm just saying this because, again, I don't delve into the comments worlds generally, but what I am seeing is people making video posts. The mic's near his mouth, the mic's not near his mouth, stuff's coming out, stuff's not coming out, it's being fixed, there's something going on. So that's all the stuff with Vince. And then Jose saying, sounded great. With Axl, there's no questions out there at all about the validity of it and if it's live, but what I am seeing a lot of is wildly conflicting reports about how he sounds. Some people saying it's amazing what he's still doing, and other people saying he sounds terrible. So I don't know I don't know if it's a night in or night out thing. I don't know if it's depends upon where you're sitting and what you're hearing. I don't know if it's based on your agenda going in. I'm just saying it's wildly erratic in terms of what people are saying about both of these shows and both of these singers in particular for different reasons. It's really interesting. And I'll say this. When it comes to Guns, who are, okay, Motley is doing a 75-minute show. I believe it's around 75 minutes they're playing in an amphitheater with two opening acts. Guns N' Roses is doing a show that is at least double in length in the amount of time they're on stage. Their average show is about 3 hours long. How much of it is solos or covers or Duff singing a song, whatever. But the show is 3 hours long. For better or worse, depending upon where you land on that. Some people feel that's way too long. Some think it's great. Again, personal taste, personal opinion. But the other huge difference between the two, so one is operating at a totally different level in terms of where they're playing. Guns N' Roses are in stadiums. And the reason I bring that up is because, as I've said so many times, there is nothing, I think, the worst environment to truly see and hear a band is a stadium. I don't think anybody will argue that. From a sound and vision standpoint, the worst. If you want a quote-unquote experience, being surrounded by 40, 50, 60,000 other people, and you want that experience of the enormity of that and fireworks shooting off at the end and all that, if that's your trip and the tailgating and all that, then yeah. Okay, I get it. But if you just actually want to see or hear a band, it is inarguably the worst environment. And again, I bring that up because I think some of the erraticness, some of the wildly conflicting reports about how Axl does or does not sound could very well be related to where you are in the building, because they're doing all stadiums. And I know for a fact, and you guys know for a fact, where you sit at a stadium show in a building that big with an open roof on most of them is going to greatly determine how that band sounds. And by the way, if the stadium has a roof on it, it's probably going to sound even worse and more erratic because it bounces around in there. So I don't know. I think that really plays into some of the hit or miss reviews on Axl, because if you're watching from the upper deck in the back, you may have had a very different sound experience than somebody who was watching from 20 rows back on the floor or just in front of the soundboard. And I know for a fact here in Vegas, this stadium that they've got, Allegiant, where the Raiders play, is notorious for erratic sound. Look, I get a stadium show is an event. Some people like the big experience. I get for bands, it's ultra lucrative, and if you're a huge band that can pull that many people, you're always going to go there. But if you really want to see and hear a show, it's the worst. It's absolutely the worst experience. So I think that kind of plays into it a little bit, you know? Let's say hello to Robin, who's joining us from Green Bay, Wisconsin. What's going on, Robin?
Hey, how you doing, Eddie? Good to talk to you.
You too, Robin.
Hey, Eddie. You know, I'm a huge fan of Charlie Starr and Blackberry Smoke, and as you know, they did the remake on the Bad Company tribute album. Can't Get Enough with Running with the Pack. I wanted to know. I saw an interview with Charlie Starr, and he said that you had something to do with that. And I just wanted to know really what your involvement was in that.
That is true, actually, and I appreciate Charlie saying that, because that is, in fact, true. What I had to do with it, I had nothing to do with the recording of the song or the performance of the song or anything like that. What I had something to do with was having them included on that record, because that record was put together by two friends in the business, a guy named Gary Spivak and a guy named Robert Dippold. And Gary, when he was assembling artists for that record, he came to me and he told me of some of the artists he had on the record and what songs they were doing. And he said, I need a couple more artists, and I'm looking for this kind of artist, and I'm looking for some ideas. Who would you suggest to do a Bad Company song? And I said, Blackberry Smoke. And he said, oh, wow, that's a great idea. And I said, yeah, I think they do a great job with it. He said, I don't know those guys. Can you connect me? So I called Charlie. I told him about the tribute record. I told him it was a legit thing. I asked him if he would be interested in it. He said totally. He lit right up. So I connected him with the producers of the record, and that's how they got on the album.
Wow. All right. Thanks, Eddie.
You're welcome. Thank you, Robin. And they did a great job with it. They knocked it out of the park, and super talented band, and I was glad to have played a small role in getting them involved in being a part of that record. But that was it. I had nothing to do with the song or even what song they did or how they did it or anything like that. It was just my idea to have them included, and the producers thought it was a great idea, so they did it. And I do a lot of stuff like that behind the scenes, and I'm happy to do it. Been doing it for decades. I mean, every day I get calls or texts from people, hey, looking for a singer. I'm looking for a band. I'm looking for an idea for this. And kind of takes me back to, I haven't worked in the label side of things for a very, very long time, but it kind of takes me back to that a little bit, because that's very much of the type of stuff I was doing at Megaforce back in the late 80s and early 90s. Here's Chuck in Kentucky. Go ahead, Chuck.
Eddie Trunk, my brother, happy Monday to you, sir. Thanks so much for taking my call.
You too. Thanks for listening. What's going on today, Chuck?
Sure thing, man. I wanted to give you my review. Well, first of all, thank you for what you do, man. Just don't ever, ever stop. Just keep carrying that flag, brother.
Thank you, man. 43 years and counting. We'll see. As I say, I'll keep going as long as they'll let me, so we'll see what happens. But thank you, buddy.
You keep doing it, man. I'll keep listening. Hey, I wanted to give you my review of a show we saw over the weekend. We saw Night Ranger Friday night at the Louisville Palace at Louisville, Kentucky. And I'm telling you, they're going to have to put a new roof on the place because the Night Ranger blew the roof off the place. It's absolutely incredible, these guys. They've been doing it for so long. And it's like they just started. I mean, they're up there running around like teenagers. Jack Blades is incredible. The guy is one of the best frontmen in rock and roll, I believe. And, you would think with a band that's been doing this as long as they have, that it would be routine, it would be boring, it would look like they're bored. It's just, they're just doing it just to get through it. But those guys up there, they look like they're having so much fun and just enjoying being there and are grateful for the experience. And they just put on an incredible show.
Well, I agree with you on all fronts. I've been seeing Night Ranger since literally day one when Dawn Patrol came out, and I was in high school, and I went to see him at an amusement park in New Jersey because I was a fan from day one. And I have done a ton with those guys over the decades since. And what you see is what you get, Chuck. That's not fake. They legitimately have a good time backstage, on stage. They're all friendly with each other. There are a lot of bands that are not. I've said that often. People would be surprised how many bands look like they're having the time of their life on stage, and backstage they go their separate ways and don't talk to each other, don't engage with each other. They won't even stay in the same hotels. That's not uncommon. Yeah, but Night Ranger, what you see is what you get. It's legit. They have fun. They go out there, they bring it, they have a great time. And I agree with you as well. They are still in top form, and they've been doing this well over 40 years at this point. It's pretty remarkable. Really is.
It really is. I was really glad to hear you're going to have Brad Gillis on tomorrow, too. That's pretty great.
Yeah, Brad and Jack and Kelly, all those guys, and thank you, Chuck. They've been on with me many, many times over the decades. Matter of fact, last time we had the three original members in the band on together. It was Kelly, Brad, and Jack from the last Monsters of Rock cruise when I did all those great broadcasts from the ship. And they were all on together from that. That's on the app still if you missed it. But Brad's checking in tomorrow about a compilation greatest hits record that they did. So I'll get more clarity on that. And I'll be seeing Night Ranger this weekend, as I mentioned earlier, in Gatlinburg, Tennessee at the Mountain Music Festival, which they played 2 years ago when this festival happened last time as well. So they are staples of that also. But I think Night Ranger, it's interesting. They're one of these bands, because their biggest song is one of the all-time great power ballads, and that, of course, is Sister Christian. I think people, for whatever reason, who are more casual fans and they hear the name of that band, they just go to that song mentally and think that that's what that band is, and that's what that band really does. And yeah, they've got a very melodic sense to them, and they've got some songs that are very melodic. But they also have a lot of blazing hard rock songs. And whether it's Don't Tell Me You Love Me or Rockin' America, the ones everyone knows, or deeper tracks, I mean, they've got a ton of those. And I think they've got more hits than people realize. They were very, very prominent in the MTV era. Always great live, still great live. And you still got three original guys in that band with Brad, Jack, and Kelly. And now you've got Kerry Kelly, who's been there for a long time on second guitar, and Eric Levy, who's been there for an even longer time on keys. So it's still the band. They still have a ton of energy. Given their age, it's amazing how great they still are on stage. And they've got a lot of great songs. I've talked about that forever, how good that band still is, and looking forward to seeing them this weekend. All righty, that'll do it for show 1 of 2 on a Monday. The one day I do 2 shows back to back. So in a few minutes, you'll find me over on Channel 39, Hair Nation, for 3 additional hours with music with requests, with talk. I'll see you over there, and I'll see you back here tomorrow, starting at 3 Eastern, with Brad Gillis and rock news and calls and all that good stuff. All right, have a good rest of your Monday, everybody.